Hello everyone, good evening. I hope you all are doing well. The topic for today is biometric in ATM. What if you get an opportunity to complete any transaction in ATM without having an ATM card? Is this even possible? Yes. Our primary goal is to eradicate the use of debit card and replace it with biometrics. The first automatic teller machine ATM was set up in England way back in 1967. Since then, research is conducted in this field to improvise security as it's widely used around the globe. It is a device that is responsible for fund transfer, fund withdrawal, and deposit. Even though there is an improvement in features provided by these devices, no major steps have been taken yet to improve the security in ATMs. At the same time, ATM frauds have become one of the global issues in recent years. As it's a financial risk, it could impose a heavy impact on banking operators as well as the customers. Some common techniques used by attackers are shoulder surfing, ATM forking, ATM card skimming. Adding on, the four-digit PIN used in an ATM could be easily guessed as the research has proved that most of the users keep their date of birth as their PIN. In this research, our aim is to put an end to several attack methods. The increase in banking transaction has contributed to a higher demand for fast and precise identification and authentication of user. Biometric-based authentication in ATMs offer a variety of benefits. All type of biometric recognition systems are common as they all check for the specific unique feature of that individual. Our aim is to cater to more excellent protection with more security to avoid criminals, adversaries, and cyber hackers, and provide greater flexibility in real time. Whenever a user forgets their card or PIN. The proposed idea focuses on ATM that uses two or more biometric authentication. A user can't even lose their biometric feature, unlike any physical card or PIN. Biological sample can replace physical cards and ATM pins. Since biometric is exceptionally complicated to forge or steal, biometric authentication has its benefits. It offers excellent accuracy and flexibility and is not time varying. It is a highly secure alternative for any user to rely on, which has its pros over traditional single factor authentication banking system using ATM pins to withdraw the money.
Hello everyone, my name is Soumya and I'll be speaking on technical implementations in biometrics in banking ATMs. Our proposed system will be divided into three phases. The first phase being card and biometrics, where card will be used for initial authentication and biometrics will be used as second factor authentication. Then moving to phase two, it will be a combination of biometrics and OTP based, where biometrics will be used to verify the user, and for security, an OTP will be sent to the user's mobile phone as multi-factor authentication. Coming to phase 3, which is an only biometric based ATM, the proposed system will be a multi-model system developed to avoid inaccuracies in the system. The system proposes the use of fingerprint biometric mechanism as the primary security check and facial recognition as a part of the secondary security check. We have chosen fingerprint and facial recognition as a part of our implementation, as these characteristics of a person do not change over the years and remain constant. We believe that fingerprint and facial recognition technologies are robust enough to be used for authentication and will be used for phase 3 when they have been thoroughly tested in the previous phases. The proposed system involves fingerprint matching as the first step to verify the identity of a user. This will act as a primary security check and will be verified against the database. We could enable risk-based authentication, where if there are changes detected in the login behavior, the system could ask security questions or send an OTP to the user's phone. After the user enters the amount he or she wants to withdraw, the machine will use facial recognition technology to verify the user as a security measure, and if successful, will grant the money as a part of the transaction. This enhances user experience as people won't have to carry their ATM cards, worry about remembering their PIN, or their cards being stolen or lost. When it comes to cost considerations, there would be minimum deployment cost where the cost of the ATM, the software and the installation of the ATM, hardware of the biometric system, sensors, cameras, cost of the algorithm, cost of the maintenance of the system, and overall processing cost will have to be considered. But when we look closely, there is also a significant reduction in other costs such as printing of physical ATM cards when they are newly issued or when a customer loses a card and a new one has to be sent, and the cost of transportation of those cards. Using biometric ATMs is also eco-friendly as there would be a reduction of the usage of sending those cards in envelopes, thus reducing paper cost. Overall, biometric ATMs will prove to be a cost-effective way to ensure high security with minimum user interactions in the ATMs.
Thanks Soumya for the slides. Now let's see the advantages of biometric ATM. Biometric ATM will enhance the user experience as users don't need to carry anything in order to use the ATMs, and their biometrics such as face, fingerprints, retina are enough to identify them. Secondly, these ATM will provide faster authentication as users don't need to carry any type of card and later enter PIN. Thus, the overall process of authentication will be fast. Also, no one can steal your biometric like we see in case of debit and credit card. Use of biometric ATM will be cost effective for the banks and its customers. In start, we all might think implementing this will be expensive. However, if only biometrics are used in ATM, which replaces traditional debit card, thus banks don't need to print any card and there will be no transportation cost involved either. And in long term, this will be cost effective. Use of biometrics is certainly eco-friendly as there is no need to print plastic cards and transport them. Even though biometric ATM provides significant improvements in terms of security, user experience, and cost, still there are some disadvantages in using the same. One of the most common issues is user privacy, as a lot of personal data has to be stored in order to use biometric as an authentication medium. For example, a system would need to store many pictures, video, fingerprints, etc. And if this get hacked or goes in wrong hands, privacy of peoples can be impacted. Due to this reason, many users may not be ready to give their biometrics to organization, and hackers will take interest to hack the biometric database, as these databases can be hacked and sold in black market. Most difficult challenge which we see is how banks around the world will share their biometric data in order to allow their users to withdraw cash globally, as every country will have their different laws related with personal data. Now let's see what will be the application areas of these new biometric ATMs. These biometric ATM will provide similar services which we see nowadays from traditional ATMs. However, these will replace the need of any physical cards, and only authorized persons could access the ATM. For example, users' biometrics features could be used to give access to the user. At last, these ATM will provide all the financial services such as cash withdrawal, deposit, fund transfer, and bill payments. We assume in future we will see fully biometric based ATM where user face ID will be enough to identify the user. Later, another type of biometrics such as fingerprint, retina, or iris can be used to perform the transactions. Presently, we see facial ID and fingerprint are enough for implementation of biometric ATM. In future, retina or iris technology can be easily added to them. We all might think these biometric ATM will take a long time. However, various banks such as Sun, ICBC, Singapore's OCBC have already started using facial features of the user to identify them. One of the best example of such system is Alipay in China. Here, for payment authorization, consumers simply look at the kiosk and a 3D camera will confirm their identity. A phone number can also be linked as an extra authentication. And here, users, if they don't want to use this feature, they can just simply opt out. Let's watch a small clip to understand how Alipay facial recognition is working. For example, a customer arrives and want to order something. They just need to choose whatever they want to order from the menu, as we can see in this, and later to authenticate the user will uh, use their facial ID, and with the facial ID, the 3D camera can easily scan the user and try to authenticate it. Once the user is authenticated, it's asked for the user's phone number, and once the phone number is done, the user can receive the order. And these cameras are very robust. Even uh, there is a change in hairstyle or uh, with change in your physical appearance, and even you are going out in a group, still facial recognition are robust enough to find the find the user and confirm their identity. Yeah, we will see the same in the video now. Like we see the girl have done the makeup and still facial recognition system is able to identify her, like right now. Same presently she is with her friends, and still the system is that advanced, so we are expecting this kind of technology in our in our biometric ATM to be implemented. Now Jessica will explain the security and privacy issues in this ATM.
Thanks, Vijay. Hello, everyone. In this part, I will introduce security threats in ATMs. There are three types of security concerns pertaining to ATM. First type is physical threat ATM. This type of attack carry out a brutal attack on the ATM machine, destroy the ATM equipment by violent means to obtain cash. Second type is identity theft. It refers to the category of crimes that capture the data used by a customer to authentication himself at the ATM to enable his financial services. The most frequent attack vectors in this category including card skimming, card typing, and card sniffing. The last type is logical theft. This type of attack is used to steal cash from the ATM using methods like install malware and ATM pre-console side, or like a man-in-the-middle attack. Among them, identity theft has the highest incidence and is easy to implement. Biometric is a very good way to solve the identity theft. Biometric ATM can provide more reliable authentication and transaction authorization method, and using the uniqueness of biometric to minimize financial fraud. This slide, we will introduce the privacy issue and the related law and regulation. We discussed privacy and legal issues related to the use of biometric technology and processing on the ATM, many related to the United States and the European Union law. The United States doesn't have a law at the federal government level to protect the security of biometric data, but some states already have independent relevant regulation. We use Illinois as an example. Illinois enacted the Biometric Information Privacy Act. and we highlight 3 points in this act. First point, when connection personal biometric for the first time, the data connection party should inform what kind of data to connect, the purpose of the connection, the time of the data stored, and a written authorization should be obtained. Second point, the data connection party must be provide a data rational schedule, and the data should be destroyed when the data has been connected for more than 3 years. Without consent or specific exception provided by law, personal biometric data may not be disclosed or sold. Now we switch to the European side. The General Data Protection Regulation is a biometric data protection law used by the European Union. We focus on several points. According to the Article 9 of the GDPR, biometric data is a special type of personal data. Biometric data cannot be used unless it involves public interest. GDPR agreed that information and consent is the prerequisite and the basis to connect sensitive data. If the user doesn't agree, the information connector may be suspected of breaking the law. The person's consent must be clear and specific. Another point is there is a difference between facial recognition data and the photos. European, generally standard, believe that the facial recognition is a subordinate concept of biometric. Therefore, the face data obtained by face recognition is sensitive information. GDPR believes that the procession photos is not automatically considered procession sensitive personal data. Only when the data is processed through a specific technical method to identify or authenticate a specific natural person, then the photo is considered as a biometric data. In addition, the GDPR stipulates that under certain circumstances, European countries should not impose restriction on the processing of biometric data. For example, the Netherlands stipulates that biometric data can be processed to complete the certification or national security needed. Regarding the privacy issue of the biometric on ATM, the bank need to be obtained the user's explicit consent. The biometric data can only be processed after the biological subject's declaration or consent. The biological subject has the right to withdraw consent at any time. The ATM owner, such as bank, should evaluate the necessity of connection data and reduce the amount of data to a minimum according to the requirements of the law. Now I will hand the slide to
Thanks, Jessica, for explaining the security and privacy issues of biometric ATM. Now let's see the conclusion slide of our presentation. In conclusion, we can say we will see faster adoption of biometric ATM as they provide better user experience, prevents from various cybercrimes and physical theft, and are more secure than traditional ATMs. Also in future, we will use multi-modal biometric system for user authentication. Thanks everyone for listening. Now we are open to any questions if any.